Hello everyone, my name is Charles-Antoine de Souza. I'm the creative director at Artefact 3000, and today we're going to talk about FutureGuessr, a project that showcases all of Artefact's expertise at every level. So what is FutureGuessr? You're probably familiar with these games that are really popular today, like GeoGuessr, open guess-healthy geography games where you're dropped into present-day street view landscapes and you have to figure out as quickly as possible where you are on the planet. There are specialist world champions, including one who is French, who are now able to recognize places on Earth in less than a second. It's pretty impressive to watch. And for us, that was our starting point, because this game, which I believe now has over 65 million users, is a real social phenomenon, a true trend, and we decided to put our own spin on it, as we often like to do at Artefact 3000, to take on a trending topic like this and turn it into a communication tool. Today we are going to talk about a topic that we adapted for Réseau Action Climate. And our ideas of FutureGuessr, you might see where I'm going with this game, with this online experience, which is really a game just like GeoGuessr, where you can play. So it's going to be a URL that everyone can visit and play on. On FutureGuessr, what's different from GeoGuessr is that you won't be dropped into today's landscapes, but into landscapes from the year 2100. And what I can tell you, even after playing it more than 100 times, is that it's really tough. We bet that even the experts at this international game will be completely thrown off. That was the whole point of this experiment, not to recognize anything, to create this experience before showing you what it looks like. We used image generation tools, but not just any tools. We developed our own model in-house, locally. That was really important to us because we're talking about a topic related to ecology, and of course, we all had in mind to do a project with as little impact as possible. And that's why we actually developed an in-house local solution running on a workstation at the agency, which operates with several data sets we provided to feed it, namely the last 3 IPCC reports, and specifically all the most threatened places today that we had previously identified. So we gave the machine all these images, what these places look like today, so that our artificial intelligence could then generate the landscapes of tomorrow. So how does it actually work? Basically, it receives today's image. We tell it basically to look through all the IPCC reports we've provided, find any information about these locations, and then generate a prompt describing the changes that are going to happen to this image. And basically, our artificial intelligence is able, based on this information, to regenerate today's image as it would look in 2100, applying only what the IPCC reports predict for these places if nothing is done. So that's kind of the experience we're going to be dropped into, and we'll take a look at it together. We arrive on the FutureGuessr page. You can choose your little character. It's available in French and English. You pick your character, and then the site warns us, explore today the world of tomorrow. You thought you knew the Earth. Wait until you see what it has become in 2100. And so here we go. We start the game. Just like in GeoGuessr, we're going to be dropped into a landscape where we can move around in 360 degrees and try to guess where it is. So here we immediately start with a somewhat unsettling image where you might still recognize a few elements, like these famous chairlifts. So you think, this looks like something I know, but still with a bit of a twist. Now, I'm kind of cheating because, as I mentioned, I've already played the game quite a few times. I know it's in the Alps. So there you go, you click just like in GeoGuessr to try to guess where it is. And the closer you are, the more points you score. And there's a whole gamification system like that where basically you try to rack up as many points as possible. And that's what makes the game challenging, because it's really hard to get a lot of points. And basically once you've guessed, once you've tried to figure out where it was, you always get a before and after. So we show the real effects of climate change between today and 2100, and we have this little slider feature that lets you actually see the damage. What we see here with this particular example is that when I mentioned the artificial intelligence model we created, we also designed it so that it truly preserves the exact physical features of the location. So typically what you see here is that when there's a mountain, when there's a curve, it respects that. So in fact, unlike other artificial intelligences that might use online models, we were committed to creating a model that truly respects the topography of the locations so that GeoGuessr professionals can really play and potentially recognize the places we show them. Next, we'll do another one to discover other locations. So it's a game where you can play for hours since we've developed a large collection of landscapes like this. This one, again, there are little clues that give us an idea of where we might be with these beautiful iconic buildings, but which normally shouldn't be standing in water. I'm cheating again, so I'm gonna get a really good score. Miami Beach in the United States. So here again, you can use the little slider to discover that basically in the IPCC report, they actually mention Ocean Drive, places like that which are a bit iconic. And typically what they say is that Ocean Drive in the year 2100, if we do nothing, it's Ocean Drive underwater. We won't be able to drive there anymore. Maybe we could still do a bit of jet skiing, but that's not where we want things to end up. And basically in the experience, every time we come across a landscape that we've tried to explore, there's always an explanatory text. So here it tells us that we got it wrong because we actually weren't that close. And it reminds us of two things. What we're seeing here, what we've just discovered, is the worst case scenario. These are actually the most extreme images of the world that awaits us if we do absolutely nothing. So that's what we always remind people of in the first paragraph. On the left side of each of these images, we actually find a bit of the IPCC data, which is somewhat condensed in this space. But we also make a point, and this was important to us to remind everyone that another future is possible and that it's obviously not too late. That's also why we chose this timeline of 2100, because there's still time to take action and have a real concrete impact to prevent what we've just seen from happening. And actually, basically, every time in this section that we mention another future is possible, we're either talking about actions that are already underway to start reversing the trend, or we're talking about what needs to be done on a global scale and sometimes also on a local scale to prevent this scenario from happening. We also made it a point to each time site at the bottom of each location, the sources that were used by the artificial intelligence to generate these images. So for each location, in fact, we provided sources, and for people who want to dig a little deeper into the subject, we indicate in which paragraph from which IPCC reports, since there are 3 that were plugged into our system, you can find the information that our artificial intelligence used to generate this landscape. Let's continue the tour. Here we're looking at one of the landscapes that's quite traumatic, because we find ourselves in a lush valley that could easily be mistaken for fjords or a landscape like Annecy. So we'd be tempted to click, I think, somewhere around this spot on the map. But in reality, we're looking at a landscape in Antarctica with, well, one of the most dramatic effects of climate change to witness: complete melting of the ice, giving way to landscapes that look much more like fjords than glacial scenery. And actually, this allows me to emphasize a point. With this artificial intelligence, the images we've generated, there's no exaggeration, no tweaking by the AI to make things more sensational or spectacular. It's literally what the current IPCC projections show. Everything we've created here is concrete. Everything we're visualizing is actually a real projection, currently documented by climate experts for each of the landscapes we'll explore in this experience. And in fact, we worked hand in hand with an IPCC expert named Benjamin Sultan, a climatologist who helped us design the entirety of this experience. What we did with him was first list the places on the planet that are going to be the most threatened. He actually added quite a few more for us, because they are the ones we already know, but there are also some places that are, let's say, more unique with upcoming changes in agriculture and so on. He was able to focus on basically some of the specific issues related to climate change. And with Benjamin Sultan, we really developed this whole experience in depth. So basically, he read through all the text you see on the left side of each image, and he validated them so that we would have that scientific backing and essentially concrete explanations of what is going to happen, as well as concrete explanations of how we can change things tomorrow if we decide to take action. He also basically looked at all the images we generated, played the game, of course, and overall, his feedback is really great because he's super happy to finally have a tool that allows him to visualize what they usually publish in reports that are made up of tons of data, like the latest IPCC reports, for example, which is 7,700 pages long. Here we're providing a more educational tool that people can actually use, and above all, one that lets them see what's written. So in a way, this is the first creating a tool that allows people to visualize what the IPCC reports are saying. With FutureGuessr, we hope to reach a much wider audience than that of the IPCC reports. We deliberately created a Gamia game that anyone can play in order to attract as many people as possible. We mentioned 65 million players for GeoGuessr. We hope to attract just as many to FutureGuessr. So we're happy because we're going to launch this game on Tuesday, June 17th, with some big Twitch streamers who are used to playing GeoGuessr who will certainly reach a younger and broader audience as well. So we have two fairly well-known Twitch streamers, including Ponce, who has over 1 million followers on Twitch. He will play the game live and try in turn to guess where he is on the planet this time in the year 2100. So we're excited, we're looking forward to seeing the results and to finding out if FutureGuessr finds its audience.